There probably is someone on here screaming at me how they do use sand to lay pavers. Cool, I'm going to make a video about using sand and pavers. Leave me to my own devices, thank you. Right, okay, so pavers. What we're going to do is leave 100mm gap between each paver. So now you're starting to see the path down. One of the materials that we'll be using for this timber edging is pine. So pine is generally the same colour as the macrocarpa. 60 by 6670. Right, this fills. I'm going to have a path, and there's. Oh God. We can group this now. Double click it again. And because this is going to be a gravel, we can bring this up as high as we want. So 38, that's 7mm under a paver height. So I would actually keep it around that. In all honesty, I'd even maybe go 30. Yeah, say 38. 38mm. Okay, let's take that off. There. Okay. So you can start to see now, because that's what you want, about 40mm depth of gravel. You don't want a load of gravel. You just want enough to sit on the sub base to go slightly underneath the paver and slightly underneath the timber. You want it slightly underneath because there's nothing more annoying than gravel just flicking all over the blooming grass. Again, I don't usually recommend this if we can avoid it, but they really liked it. So especially with a dog, man, gravel can be a nightmare. But hey, it's not my garden, so I'll shut up. Okay, so just imported some soil in here and a higher timber edge just to block off what might be underneath that fence. And what I'm going to do now, I took the drain out slightly just here, but we know that's the centre anyway, so that's absolutely fine. What I'm going to do, because I know with the drain being there, we want it running in, so we don't really want to coat a load of grass around it. So from this point, so from here to somewhere just past it, past where the drain is, I'm going to put paving in with gravel, and we're going to follow suit of this. So I'll start popping these pavers in. Right, as you can see, the paving is now in where we want it. We've allowed space for the little unit on the right hand side next to the house there. We've allowed a little cut round for the drain there, which is easy enough to do. Yeah, timber edging just to retain the gravel so it doesn't go onto the grass. And now I've got my measurements for underneath here, and what we want to do is find that, because this is going to be sub base as well, and because there was existing paving already there, the sub base underneath there, which there should be, will definitely help us in the long run. Now, the previous paving might have had sand between the sub base and the pavers. Now, that's fine, because that sand can also go into there, and all we need to do is bring a bit of cement in, and it's not going to be much. Now I'm just bringing this up really to make it a little easier and a little quicker. Now what you would want to do there is leave a small amount of space to be able to get that cement in. Like I say, because it's pre-existing paving, there should be a good amount of sub-base and decent ground under there anyway. I don't think we're going to find much soil. I think we're going to find quite hard ground under there. So as long as it's hard ground underneath and not fresh sinking soil, we're pretty sweet. But yeah, just remember there needs to be space between the sub base and the paver to allow for, you can do it with 20mm of cement. Again, we left that 8mm last time, so that means we want it 38mm, I believe. Now what we could have done, we could have made the grass larger, because obviously they're getting a dog, they wanted a space for a little bit of grass. Now, the problem with putting too much grass in here, if we took all the grass all the way down, we're going to have to bring in a lot of soil. We're going to have to excavate pretty much, let me just highlight it, all of this sort of space. I didn't make it all grass, mainly because you're going to need at least 100 mil of topsoil-ish, maybe 80 mil, to turf. They really wanted turf. They wanted to get rid of that astroturf that they've got down the fake grass, which I don't blame them really for, because once you get a dog, believe me, I know this, I spend 24 hours a day with mine. If he was constantly weeing on fake grass, my God, surely that's going to smell. So I mean, I don't usually, I don't do it myself, but I'd always recommend people to get actual grass. It is just in this situation going to be a little bit more fiddly, but look, because we can't get barrows and stuff through the house, that'll be a case of filling this area, well, excavating first, putting anything else that we don't need in this planter box, because there's going to be plenty of space in there, and then bringing in bags or buckets of topsoil just to fill in this space. And now this space is only, we got 4.7 metres by just under 3 metres. So you're looking at around 12 to 15 square metres just off the top of my head. That's not too much. That's not too much. So, you know, even if you were basing it on 100 mil of topsoil, you're probably only going to need 1.5, maybe between 1 and 2 tons. Again, it doesn't sound great to carry it in through buckets through the house, not ideal, but if you want grass, that's what you're going to do, and it's not the end of the world. Now, if it was 40 tons, I'd probably be redirecting them, but this is definitely doable. With a dog, it's a little bit tricky. Even with humans, I'd say actually it's a little bit tricky, but you're going to want to stay off that for at least 4 weeks. And keep it constantly watered. If you can get irrigation, brilliant. If you can't, then you're just going to have to water it a couple of times a day, in the morning, in the evening. If it's really hot, especially morning and evening before the sun comes out, is my recommendation. No, your turf isn't actually very thick at all. It's probably only looking at about, let's say, 15 mil. And there you go. There's your grass. So you can start to see it coming together. You've now got paving, replacing the paving in this area, which is good. So the groundwork, a lot of it will be done for us. We're going to have to do a bit of work on that, but it's there. We are going to have to be bringing a little bit of soil for this area and a little bit of fresh soil for the grass, but hey, that can be done in buckets. We can come through the house and we can make it a clean process, unless someone drops a bucket on the way in. Now, what I am going to do, just for argument's sake, because it's doing my head in, I think if it was me, I would paint these pine edgings like so, and this one, and I'd also definitely paint these to match the quilla. So obviously it would change the aesthetics a little bit, but I do like consistency, and I do think it looks a little bit nicer. So you can see now I've chucked the fence in. It doesn't replicate theirs perfectly, but it's similar-ish. I seem to remember theirs being black. Now, another question was asked about fencing. I'm the last person to ask about fencing, but good luck trying to get your new neighbours to chip in for brand new fencing. So I would say get a paintbrush on it, paint it the same colour as the deck, the timber, and the macrocarpa sleepers at the back there. Now what I'm going to start doing is filling the garden up with plants. Okay, so these are Carokia frosted chocolates that I've put in here. Fairly small hedging plant, 1.5 by 1.5, but will fill that gap quite nicely. And from the window, you know, they might grow up and just block out a little bit of that water tank, which is perfect. I've also planted these about 800mm apart. You can plant them a little bit closer to make a bushier hedge. It's completely up to you. The further apart you put them, the higher they'll tend to grow. So I went with 800mm. See these purple flowers that I've put in here? These are lavenders, English lavenders, and they can grow about 30 centimetres by 30 centimetres, 300mm by 300mm. They can also grow up to 600mm by 600mm, sort of the width of that paver. So just a case of keeping them nice and trimmed up. They can change that. It's just a small shrub that adds a bit of colour and it looks really nice. I've also gone with a smaller one in front of the water tanker here, just because I don't know if there's going to need to be access to that. I'm not really sure. Maybe having lavender grow into it isn't ideal. So we've gone with a bit of a colour change, and for this, I mean, these are just perennials. These are just white agapanthus. Again, nice contrasting colour, and yeah, quite like it. Hopefully the client does as well. Now, for the last part, so in the back here, I've just filled it up with basically a colour match of what we've already put in there. Now, this is just an example. You can put something higher in. You can put, you know, a nice looking smaller shrub that will just reach to the top of that fence. None of these shrubs will. They're quite small. You've got lavender, agapanthus again, then a pink flower in there. It's just to figure out what colours they may want, they might not want. But it's a good starting point. Right, so there's a little bit of a start there. And yeah, we'll wait to see what they think. So nearly at the end now. I mean, I'm probably speaking to myself. I'm sure no one's still watching this. Okay, so if you're still with us, my goodness, congratulations. I'll send a medal. Right, so I've just been playing around with this, and now the last thing I want to do is two things. I want to show be able to show the plan top view to the client, so it's easy for them to sort of assess, like so. And then I've just been working also on a render. So this just gives them, it's not going to be perfect, but it does give them an idea of what they're going to be looking at. So if we come into my scenes here and scroll to the bottom, you can sort of see, ignore the grass amongst the gravel. That's not going to be there. Get rid of them weeds, spray the hell out of them. But this is sort of what we want the client to see. Here's one last example that we can send over as well. And the most important part is obviously the price. I gave this an estimate between around 16 to 18,000 New Zealand dollars. Roughly translates to about 9,000 US dollars. Around 8,000 to 9,000 English pounds. I hope that's helpful. Thanks very much.